I'm just a streaming dirtbag baby. Come to my live stream, don't say maybe. It never ends till you go crazy. I'm just a streaming dirtbag baby. Come to my live stream, don't say maybe. It never ends till you go crazy. Thank you, Uncle Remus. Thank you, Wesley. And thank you, everybody who came. Now that's a franchise I'd watch.
There's a part of you that can only see. We know the truth is what you see. So we welcome you to the home of peace. Of the oddball, the neglected, the outcast, the rejected, we're all here to celebrate. There's no need to be a Pat-clad. We've done away with all the hatred. Every show you love is here. So kick back and grab a beer. There's plenty of discussion, no agenda that we're pushing. We're just here to celebrate. Anti-crackering, rebels in the wonders and the pain. Whenever we are here, it's clear there's no fear. It's really steady every good as a voice to be heard. Cause here everyone's a third. We are a sideline menagerie. We've got every alien from A to Z. We know this is where you want to be. We're the greatest channel in the galaxy. Anti-crackering, rebels in the wonders and strength. Whenever we are here, we see clear, there's no fear. It's good to steady every word, have a voice to be heard. Cause here everyone's a third. A third. Oh yeah. A third.
Hello, world. This is Bert.
Oop, cut off bird. Hey guys, how you doing? Man, been a rough week, and yeah, just has been. Work today was an absolute mess. My computer wouldn't work. Not this computer, but my work computer, the one that I use at work. And so it was messing up all day, dealing with IT, who apparently doesn't understand that when a device is malfunctioning, it doesn't mean it's not connected. But, you know, whatever. So good to see y'all. 47 Yorktown's first in the house today, followed quickly by Darren Wagner, who's already trying to start something. Super Blabberpuss is in the house, says, hello guys, hope all's well, thank you. Doing as good as I can at this point. I'm just glad the day is pretty much over. Darren says, when have I ever started anything on? Yeah, right, Darren. And bring Bird back on. Well, Bird was streaming earlier, wasn't he? I'm sure he was. I've been working all day, but he usually does. Alex is in the house, says, howdy ho gang, I've arrived. Well, we've been waiting for you, Alex, so good to see you. And Jay-Z Denton says, hey, what up, Anti-Trigger? Death to Kuroga. Indeed, death to Kuroga. I got to get that queued up again. Man, that was so awesome when he said that. So, but yeah, good to see. I don't actually have a topic today because I was just kind of exhausted. I didn't have anything specific that I wanted to cover other than to just kind of hang out with you guys for a little bit as long as I'm able, because I'm not feeling very good, but I'm here, and that's the best I can tell you today. And Paladin is glad this day is over too. Yeah, well, I tell you, yeah, I've been having computer problems all day. And it's just really stressful because I know that some people would think, oh, hey, it makes your day go easier, because the main problem with the system is that we use a phone that's an IP phone, so it ties into our network directly, and that piece was not functioning, which means I could not send or receive phone calls. And so that meant that basically I didn't have to take any phone calls today, but instead I was just, I was helping people via chat, and I was also trying to get the stupid thing working. Still haven't quite figured out what's wrong with the thing, and I'm supposed to work tomorrow morning, so we'll see. And let's see. Jay-Z says, I heard there's a big sports ball game. Oh, that's right. I was wondering why the viewership was low, but I forgot. This is sports ball day. Obviously, didn't care. Just gonna be honest, I don't really care that much about the Super Bowl unless there's a team that I have some kind of sentimental value with. So if, for example, the 49ers or the Raiders are in the Super Bowl because I'm from the Bay Area originally, then I have somebody to root for. If the Tennessee Titans are in there, then I could root for them because that's where I live now. And if it was the Seattle Seahawks, we could root for them because Mrs. Anti-Trekker is from the Northwest. And so, but if it's not, if one of those teams is not involved, could not care less about Super Sports Ball Day. Except for the commercials are usually fun. But I've been working all day anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered. Unless one of those teams is playing, the only reason I would watch the game is because of the commercials. And by the way, I don't even know what's Super Bowl number whatever today, but me and Mrs. Anti-Checker, I am not making this up, we watched Super Bowl 23 together. So shortly after we got together. Let's see. Sci-Fi Nation says, greetings, Anti-Checker fellow nerds. I got the old Core i7 up and running again. Well, I don't know how old because i7s are still in production now. So I don't know how old it is, but good, I suppose. Alex says, the latest Godzilla Singular Point teaser just showed off Jet Jaguar. What? Are you talking about the new Godzilla movie? Because now that I got to see. I'm going to have to look that up. But there's a new one, but that's kind of weird. Darren says 2 Insta copyright claims on my video this evening, both Insta disputed by me, but that's to be expected, giving it's a film review. Yeah, Darren, honestly, I was kind of surprised. The clips that you had, and by the way, if you haven't seen it, Darren put up a really good video today about the film Hiding Out. Now, I've never seen Hiding Out, but I'm actually intrigued after Darren's little review of it. So I may watch it sometime in the not too distant future, just based off Darren's review. But anyway, the trick is you got to keep the clips under 15 seconds, and not to show back to back clips. And so, if you do that, then you're usually good. Sci-Fi Nation just tested the green screen on the Logitech Brio. Looks awesome. Yeah, I'm honestly. Yeah, these later, on the Logitech Brio is a solid webcam. I have one lying around here somewhere. Even the Logitech 920 works pretty good with a green screen, as long as it's lit well. And Paladin says 90% of NFL players are thugs, so I don't follow football anymore. I honestly, I haven't followed the players of football in such a long time that I wouldn't know. I mean, I remember the Portland Trailblazers when in basketball back in the early 90s. They were like the best team in the NBA. That was the days of Clyde Drexler and Buck Williams and Terry Porter and those guys. Duck Williams as center. But anyway, they were not only were they a great basketball team. The only reason they didn't win a bunch of championships was, quite frankly, because Michael Jordan and the Bulls were peaking at the same time. And while Portland was a better team, the Bulls had Michael Jordan. That's the honest truth. But they were such a great group of guys, and I met a couple of them, and really nice guys. But then after they broke up the team for stupid reasons, they brought in a new squad, and they were a bunch of thugs. They were always getting in trouble. And all the whole town just kind of abandoned them at that point. And Darren is shocked Tennessee has an NFL team. Yes, the Titans. Don't know much about them. Alex says no singular points. Anime series. Oh, okay. I did not know. I knew that there was a Netflix anime series, but I didn't know what it was called. Darren says, since my channel's monetized anyway, it's not a huge deal as long as they don't pull it down. Yeah, and if they wanted to, it would already be down. So if you just got when they file the DMCA, and if it just says they can run ads on your video or whatever, if you don't care, it's not worth the fight, because you know what's going to happen. You file it so that it's fair use. They deny it, and then you have the option of actually trying to get into a legal battle with them, which ain't worth it. And I'll check out Darren's review. I trust his taste. Yeah, Darren's got good taste, mostly. Sci-Fi Nation says, old as it hasn't ran in a few months. It's an i7 2600 4-core, 3.4 gigahertz, running 16 gigs of SSD 3 RAM. My bottleneck is a GeForce 9500 GT running at a lowly 1 gigahertz. Well, that is a lot of numbers, my friend. And since I haven't actually been keeping up on that stuff, I don't know, the 2700, I don't remember when that one was. So it's, but I have not built a computer in a long time. My current one, I have an i9 sitting here, and it's not a great computer. I mean, it's like, i9, it's got a good processor, but honestly, the last computer that I built, which was i7, was more solid than this one, in my opinion. But anyway, Alex wants to know, what's the rarest piece of Trek merchandise you own? Honestly, it is a comic book / record. It is, I can never pronounce it correctly. It's like Journey to Marove, I believe, something like that. And It's a comic book adventure of Star Trek with a little 45 RPM record where the original cast actually reads the comic book. And so, which is kind of cool. It was written by Alan Dean Foster. And I also happened to have, I had William Shatner autograph it. And so that would probably be it. And so, yeah. I had William Shatner. I had him autograph it during Comic-Con, and when I met him. Anyway, your stream is ghosted, says Uncle Remus. I'm not sure what you mean by that. What does that mean? I mean, you kids in your internet lingo. I have no idea what you mean by the stream is ghosted, because I'm looking at it. I'm assuming you don't mean that like there's some weird ghostly image on it, because it looks fairly good, although the green screen isn't quite lined up properly on one side, but no biggie. And Brian McFarland's in the house, says, "Hi, ho, everybody. How you doing, my friend?" And Sci-Fi Nation says, "I know, right?" And I'm not sure why. JC says, "I'm an AMD is it Ryzen? However you say it, 1600. Man, the last AMD build I did was a bulldozer. I don't know if you remember that one. That's Mrs. Anti-Trekker's computer. She still uses it. It's a pretty solid. I mean, it's not a fast processor, but it's a really steady one. And that's most of the computers I built. I went for stability more than raw speed. I never overclock or anything like that. But yeah. And Treston says, "Good night, Anti-Trucker, and the guys in the chat. Hope everyone has a good weekend." Thank you, Treston. Take care of yourself, my friend. Sci-Fi says, "It's an old workstation PC that I stuffed RAM and a PCIe GPU into, but it has 2 PCIe slots." Okay, well, then you could put another GPU in it if you wanted. If it would be worth it. And Darren says, "The Power Record Star Trek Journey to Mauve." Thank you. Mauve is it like the color, or mauve? Mauve. You put mauve. Mauve. Now you're confusing me. I thought the color was mauve, but now you put Mo-V like mauve. So, however you say it, that's what it is. Chris Cook says, "Hi, how you doing, Chris? I'm pretty excited about one thing. My wife is pregnant. I'm going to be dad." Excellent news, Paladin. That is awesome. And I will tell you, enjoy that kid. Especially when they're little, because when they get older, they get older. Jay-Z says, "Pretty sure ghosted means doesn't show up in people's YouTube feeds or recommendations." You know what? That's par for the course with you. I don't know why YouTube has a hate boner for me, but they do. And so, I mean, I know that they tend to like deprioritize, if you will, channels that they see are like conservative and stuff like that. But honestly, I don't talk about politics that much. I do talk about it, but not an extreme amount. And I'm neither really a conservative advocate or a liberal advocate. I'm kind of centrist. So while I can understand I don't fit into their liberal mold, I'm also not a conservative whatever. So, and at least not in the American false dichotomy left-right. I don't fall into either of those two categories because I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. Because I think both parties are crappy. Is there an old pulp magazine type character you'd love to see finally get a big budget film treatment? Yeah, actually, a couple. I would love to see a modern take on both Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers. Why the heck not? Their time has come. The Flash Gordon movie with the Queen soundtrack and everything was just absolutely... It was fun, but it was fun garbage. They didn't even try to make a good movie. And I would like to see them make a serious Flash Gordon movie. Take it seriously. Don't turn everything into a joke. And Buck Rogers, I actually like the Gil Gerard Buck Rogers show. Yeah, technically the premiere was a film, but it was really just a 2-hour episode. But I liked it. Let's see. And Sci-Fi Nation says mauve. Yes, I meant to put mauve, not mauve. Okay, yeah. So you're messing me up, Darren, when you try to do that. And yeah, so it's spelt Mauv, and I've being dyslexic, I've always struggled. I never knew how to pronounce it. And it's funny because I talked to Alan Dean Foster on Orville Nation's channel one time, and I didn't. I even mentioned the book, but I didn't. I don't think I mentioned. I asked him how to properly pronounce it. Brian says, "Hey, Edric, I heard another conservative talk show guy was banned from Twitter today. In 1984, society sounds more and more probable." Well, it's funny. And Stan Lee says halftime sermon, and I'm not even preaching today. I'm sorry, man. I don't have a whole lot on, going on right now, just because I've been so wiped out from this week. But anyway, the ironic thing about that, Brian, is that Hollywood has always, and Darren even kind of, he doesn't talk about this specifically, but he kind of touches on it a little bit in his movie review about how Hollywood has this thing about making conservatives evil, and this is nothing new. Movies from the 80s, they did it. Hollywood has done this for a very long time, and with 1984 and Hollywood and stuff has always portrayed the evil conservative corporations. Like, think about The Company from the Alien franchise, or the oh gosh, now I can't remember the name of the Tyrell Corporation from Blade Runner. All these big evil mega corporations, always headed by some conservative that only cares about the bottom line and doesn't care about people, kind of thing, right? And yet, the truth is, it's going to be the exact opposite. The evil totalitarian corporatism coming is not from these evil conservatives. It's from these evil liberals. Organizations like Google and Facebook and Twitter. Because and they're smart in this respect. What they're doing is they're getting a monopoly on information. That's a very smart way to go. If you're going to take over the world, that's how you do it, and that's what Google is trying to do. So yeah. Paladin says, "I know exactly why YouTube is a hate boner for you. You're a Christian." Well, that probably does have something to do with it, and all I can say is, if you got to try to suppress someone because they're a Christian, honestly, what are you afraid of? Because if you think that, and just being honest with it, is if you're going to be, if you think that Christianity is stupid, if you think that it's ridiculous, and you think that it's just a bunch of fairy tales, then why are you so afraid of it that you have to silence it? Honestly, if you have an ideology that is absolutely Batwoman crazy, the best thing you can do, let them talk, because they will dig their own grave. And so, you know what? Nobody takes the Westboro Baptist Church seriously, except for Thunderfoot. If you don't know who Thunderfoot is, you're better off. But nobody takes them seriously. Nobody thinks that that's what Christianity is all about. And, and so you let them talk. You let them bury themselves, because the more they sit there holding their stupid picket signs saying God hates and the F word, yeah, they're just hurting themselves. Unfortunately, they do give some Christians a bad name, because there are idiots out there that think that they're mainstream Christians, like Thunderfoot. And so Sci-Fi says, no, he's turd a Stanny, hail Kuroga. Yeah, whatever, Kuroga sucks. Wasn't Star Wars sort of a big budget Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers? It kind of was. George Lucas wanted to do a Flash Gordon film, but he couldn't get the rights, and so he did Star Wars. Uncle Remus says, I have read Legendary is going to make a Buck Rogers movie with George Clooney. First of all, George Clooney is too damn old. All right? I'm sorry. I'm not saying he's a bad actor. I mean, he was horrible in Batman, but he's not a bad actor overall. But he is way too old to be playing Buck frickin' Rogers. Buck Rogers needs to be a younger guy. So I think that's wrong, honestly. Someone more like a Chris Pratt should be playing Buck Rogers. Although I don't want Chris Pratt, because we already have him in a lighthearted sci-fi franchise. Andy Jagger says the church live stream moved to Sunday nights. I have not gotten any notifications. You just gotta love YouTube, just the best. Oh, I tell you, yeah, I know. And they do this every time during the winter, where they kind of tweak their algorithm a little bit to try and get, try and basically get people steered away from independent content creators that think for themselves. What they like are those girls on YouTube, and I'm sorry if I sound sexist, like, oh my God, I'm totally going to teach you how to write a resume. It's so easy. And you get videos like that that'll get 10 billion views. And then you get stuff, from what they call authoritative sources, which is just anybody they happen to like because they fall into their liberal whatever crap. And yeah, that's what YouTube wants. So hopefully, eventually it will change. And Jay-Z says, I'm not dyslexic and I still didn't know how to pronounce Moth. Oh, good. I don't feel so bad there. I like the Robot Chicken sketch where the aliens are tricked into thinking his name was F. Rogers. Yes, that was hilarious. that was really good. Jay-Z says it's a weird world. Well, that much is absolutely true. OCP Robot, Omni Consumer Products is a great example. Where they, a big evil conservative corporation. That's what Hollywood was always pushing. Especially in the 80s and 90s, that was like half the big budget movies out there were about some kind of big evil corporation, right? And the military was usually evil, and it's just, the funny thing is now some people from that era, they can't get that out of their head. That's why look at frickin', I know this is more recent, but you look at movies like Avatar. There they have the evil military and the evil corporation teamed up together, It's just like, all right, whatever. But I would love to see a studio have the balls to make a movie with with a company modeled after Google taking over the world. And let's see. And let's see. Moxley fan says hello. How you doing, Moxley? Watch the old Andy Checker videos to see Thunderfoot, a.k.a. when Andy Checker got detained by Homeland Security. Yeah, Thunderfoot had nothing to do with that, but that was a real thing. Gotta love Homeland Security and their idiocy. Brian McFarland says, hey, Andy Checker, do you think Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Chrome, etc., free to people entices people to give up their freedoms? Absolutely. I mean, the funny thing is people worry about privacy all the time, and yet they give Facebook, Twitter, Google all their information. Oh, I'm worried about my privacy. And so, Facebook, here's where I went to high school. Here's where I work. Here's who all my friends are. Here's who I'm married to. What do you want other information? Oh, you want my phone number? I can put that, I mean, come on. People are so stupid. But yeah. From the 23rd and a half century. Yes, Duck Dodgers. And Chris Evans for Buck Rogers. Chris Evans would not be a bad Buck Rogers, actually. He's definitely got the look. So I could absolutely see that. And yeah, I thought it was the 24th and a half century because it was Buck Rogers in the 25th century. So I think it was Duck Dodgers in the 24th and a half century. Professor Brainy Specs is in the house. Good to see you, my friend. Alex says, dear Andy Checker, which is better, RoboCop 2 or RoboCop 3? Neither. They both sucked in comparison to the first one. Although, actually, I'd have to say RoboCop 2 was better than RoboCop 3. They just got progressively worse as the franchise went on. But honestly, the first one was the only really good one. Mox says, I have a prayer request. I've been feeling really depressed lately. Please pray for me. Thanks. You got it, my friend. 100%. Let me jot that down because I do actually keep a prayer list for people that let me know if they've got a real issue and they want me to keep them in their prayers. I do. And so I absolutely will, my friend. And I know depression is no joke. I know that some people try to make light of it, especially, unfortunately, a lot of people in the Christian community where they think, oh, you're feeling depressed? You just don't have enough faith. No, you know what? Depression is a real thing, and it's not just a case of the bummers, So I've dealt with clinical depression for a good portion of my life. So I truly feel for you, my friend. But I will keep you in prayer. Multi-Gunman says, "How's it going?" I'm doing all right, Multi-Gunman, overall. Sci-Fi says, "Thanks for taking time out of the stressful day to come hang out with us tonight. Also, much thanks for your missus for letting you do so." Hey, she encourages me too, because, that way she can be rid of me for a little bit of time and just relax. Just kidding. Sort of. Stanley says, I wish I could sell them my info directly. Really, no kidding. Instead of getting free Google services. Really, hey Google, I'll sell you. You know what? $1 million. You can have all my personal information. I don't even care. Google. First person gives me $1 million. I'll give you my name, my social security number. I'll even give you my bank account number. I'll give you hey, I'll send my debit card to you and the PIN number. Granted, with the $1 million you give me, I'm going to open up a new account. But you can have that one. So you could have my YouTube channel. Yeah, $1 million cash. I'll do that. Paladin says, "Wizard first rule: people are stupid. Given enough effort, almost anyone can be made to believe almost anything." Okay, I'm not sure. Wizard's first rule, I'm not sure where that came from, Paladin, but people are kind of stupid. Duck Dodgers, such an underrated show. I wish Boomerang would air reruns again. Did Duck Dodgers have a series, or was it just, because I remember, now granted, I'm older than a lot of you, so I just remember they did a couple of the Looney Tunes shorts with Duck Dodgers. I don't remember it ever being a series. And Moxley says, actually, it's 24th and a half century. Yeah, I think, didn't I say that? I know that someone else said 23rd and a half, and someone said 21st and a half, but I think I said 24th and a half, because I said it was 25th for the original and 24th and a half for Daffy's version for some reason. Great book series, by the way, Trigger. You should check out Sword of Truth series. Never heard of it. Although I'll be completely transparent with you, Paladin, because of my dyslexia, I almost never read books because it is not a pleasant experience for me to read. It's frankly a struggle. And so it's not my vocabulary or anything like that. It's just that it is difficult for me to read. And let's see. She doesn't have to listen to and complain about stuff for an hour. That's true. Enter, when are you guys going to watch the Puppet Masters on movie night? The one and only Star Trek, the one Star Trek borrowed from Operation Annihilate, for Operation. The Puppet Masters. I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen it. And Stanley says, the brand of coffee you're drinking. Not sure why. Yeah, I thought they were just one-offs. Yeah, that's what I thought. Hey, Ed Trigger, do you think the amount of time between the first Avatar and its sequel have a positive or negative impact on the success of the franchise? Oh, I think that Avatar 2, 3, 4, 5, however many he's supposedly making back-to-back, is going to be a huge loss, especially now with COVID. Oh, man. This is not the time to be spending $1 billion on making movies. But, yeah, I think the Avatar franchise is dead on arrival with Avatar 2. Now, granted, I could be completely wrong, but just my gut tells me, when Avatar came out, it was an incredibly beautiful spectacle. We've never seen anything like it. But guess what? That was over a decade ago? Or I don't remember exactly, but when let's see. Avatar, yeah, so it's 2009 that Avatar came out. It is 2021. All right, so we have had, think about this. We've had the entire freaking Marvel Cinematic Universe since then, right? We have had movie after movie after movie with incredible visual effects, some of which are just as good or even better than what we've seen in Avatar. And the stuff they showed in Avatar, while mind-blowing in 2009, is run-of-the-mill today. So, yeah, it's not going to, people are not going to go, ooh, Avatar 2. There's people that are like, oh, yeah, Avatar, I saw that when I was a kid, because it was 11 years ago. And so, yeah, I don't think that the time to come out with Avatar 2 would have been around 2011. Now, it is way too late. So, that's my opinion. Maybe it'll be a big success. I just can't see that happening. Duck Dodgers was a Daffy Duck thing. It turned into a show afterwards. I did not know about that, Sci-Fi. JC says, do you enjoy audiobooks? Occasionally. The biggest problem I have with audiobooks is that I have this tendency to where I don't like to just listen to something. I'll put something on to listen to while I'm working on something else, and then I get distracted. So, like, if I'm listening to something really intense, like, say, the Foundation series, that I did listen to the Foundation series on audiobook, I have to go back and listen to it like 20 times to go back and catch it all, because I can't just listen. I'm one of those people that I need, like, audio visual stimuli. That's why I love movies and TV shows and stuff like that. Duck Dodgers aired in 2003. Used to watch it a lot back in the day. I had a crush on the Martian Queen. I didn't know there was a Martian Queen on the side. Haven't seen it. Those smart speakers like Google Home and Alexa, they're listening all the time. People pay to have them in their houses. Crazy. Well, technically, like your smartphone, a lot of them they listen to you all the time because they wait for you to say, whatever the keyword is to activate it. Like, hey, Google, blah, 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 blah. Let's see. Nope, didn't do anything. But let's see. And yeah, and Sci-Fi says, so does your cell phone. Exactly. Are smartphones listening? Tablets, I don't think so. But smartphones definitely do. It's 2021. Where's my flying car? I say that all the time. I remember back in the 70s and early 80s, it's like, oh, the year 2000 is so far away, but we're going to have flying cars and transporters and laser guns and all that. None of that happened, but we got smartphones. Okay, those are cool. But yeah, where's the flying car? Darren says, Avatar was overrated in my opinion, just dances with wolves in space. Well, yes and no. It's a combination, really, of Dances with Wolves, Last of the Mohicans, and The Last Samurai. If you took those movies and then you turn the various indigenous peoples of those movies into blue aliens, you pretty much get it. And it's so funny because you have Hollywood that wants to sit there and constantly talk about how these evil conservative corporations, and of course, evil conservatives in Hollywood movies are invariably racist, right? And yet they keep making movie after movie after movie featuring the white savior. It almost is a genre in and of itself. And Stanley says, Avatar is an exception. It's a big sci-fi special effects movie that my girlfriend suggested her parents go to see. Well, like I said, it's a spectacle. It's a visually incredible film. The story is something we've heard a billion times before. Like I said, Last Samurai, same plot. Dances with Wolves, same plot. It's been done to death. White guy goes into other culture. Other culture is threatened by other white people. And so white guy leads other culture against white people. The end. That's basically the story of a bunch of movies. And this is just another one. Let's see. I recommend that movie as a fan. You should see. Let's see. I recommend that movie because as a fan, you should see it to compare. The idea is also ripped off from the low-budget movie Zontar, The Thing from Venus. Never heard of that one. And Sci-Fi says never saw the comparison. Really? You never saw the comparison? Wow, dude. Watch Dances with Wolves. Somehow Avatar just hits every demographic. Well, they did a really good job. And I'll say this. I think it was Red Letter Media Mr. Plinkett did a thing about how manipulative the Na'vi are. Because they do everything they can to make them appear sympathetic to you. And they do a very good job of it. And so, and in fact, it's funny because it reinforces various stereotypes, like thin being beautiful, and being simple and one with nature is better than having technology. It's just, yeah. It's still me, myself lacing Nike and hoverboard. Feel free to shamelessly plug my channel. Hint, hint. Well, you just did shamelessly plug your channel. So if you want to check out Sci-Fi Nation, he's here. And unfortunately, it sucks is that you can't, like, click on people's names to go to their channel anymore. That's really lame, but yeah. But Sci-Fi Nation, you can put your channel link in there if you want, you jerk. Stanley says, we need anti-grav. We do. Traditional flying is no good because you'd still need to go to an airport. Well, but if you had a flying car, your airport could just be your driveway. Hey, Trigger, what is the most requested Super Chat video from Joshua? Well, honestly, there hasn't been a lot of requests for the Super Chat videos lately, and I think that part of it, I'm just being completely honest about it, is that I know that a lot of people are struggling financially right now. So Super Chats have not been flowing lately, which, honestly, it hurts our budget, but obviously I'm not one of those people that's going to sit there and say, give me your money, give me your money, give me your money. But if you look at the history of the channel, probably number 23 is the most popular of all time. Because that one just hits that perfect mark of poking a little bit of good-natured fun at Discovery, and it's got catchy music and spinning Spock, and it was just like, I think that was a really good one. And Jay-Z says, Last Samurai was already derivative. The white savior complex. Yeah, white saviors all over Hollywood for some reason. My problem with the Na'vi and Avatar is too dang perfect. They have a perfect culture with no flaws, and they even have great big Disney eyes. Well, of course they have big Disney eyes, because big Disney eyes are what make it makes people appear more sympathetic. Oh, thank you, Super Blabberpuss.
Super Blabberpuss, $5. One for the team.
I do appreciate it, my friend, and I'm sorry if I sounded like I was whining about the Super Chats, but since someone asked, thank you. I do truly appreciate it. And, like I said, I know times are hard for everybody, and I mean everybody, and they ain't going to get better real soon, and that's what scares me, and this is not pointing the finger to the left or the right, because, let's be real, Donald Trump was doing stimulus packages like they were Halloween candy, and, Joe Biden wants to up the ante with it. And so I think that that's a huge mistake. I think that the economy cannot survive that forever. And, we'll see what happens. Let's see. Sci-Fi Nation says, need to watch a movie called Assignment Outer Space, one of these times with Matthew. Never heard of that one either. Speaking of Costner, how would you remake Waterworld? My grandmother despises the original film, mentioning it as one of her biggest triggers. It's funny, Alex, because when I saw the trailer for Waterworld, I was like, wow, that looks horrible. And so I never saw it. I don't know a darn thing about that movie, except that the world is like flooded because the polar ice caps melted or something. So that's all I know. Super Blabberpuss says Avatar had the gimmick of 3D, which is all but dead now. Ain't no way they're going to make the money they were hoping for when they go straight to streaming on Disney Plus. Is it going to be on Disney Plus? Does Disney own it? Or I guess they do, don't they? Because it was a Fox project. So yeah, I don't know. It's going to be tough for them. I think that, the 3D thing, nobody gave it, the 3D was, it did okay for a little while, but I'll tell you, the only 3D films that I actually liked seeing in 3D were the Hobbit films. Because that 48 frames per second makes up for the jittery motion that you usually get in 3D. It was much better. So the Hobbit in 3D was excellent. Most 3D films at 24 frames per second, I hate it because when something moves across the screen, it's way too jittery. So that's just my opinion. Sci-Fi Nation just found out Star Trek was actually a naval drama in space. Yes, indeed. Not that anyone's interested, but Andy Jerker did call me a jerk, so here it is. All right, there's the link if you want to subscribe to Sci-Fi Nation. There it is. He is a jerk, though. And lucky the Na'vi were also attractive. Yes, indeed. Well, if they weren't, then nobody would care about them. Yeah, if the Na'vi looked like Jabba the Hutt, would everybody be going, oh, it's so sweet, Sci-Fi Nation just found out The Mandalorian is based on The Man with No Name and Samurai Jack. Shh, don't spoil it for him. Sci-Fi Nation says, damn, Darren, who pissed in your chair? That's Darren. Darren is always snarky like that. You set him off and he's going to go after you. People are going to owe 60% in taxes for those stimulus and unemployment checks. Oh, super, it's going to have to go higher than 60%. Honestly. Especially if they do what they want to do, which part of which was, they were talking about, and I don't know if it's dead yet, or I hope it is, but they were talking about doing like $2,000 a month until they declare the pandemic over. And I'm like, oh, shoot. Darren says, Sci-Fi Nation just found out The Incredibles are based on the Fantastic Four. Wow. And Alex says, Aku, samurai. Yes. And Stanley agrees, yes, it's choppy. Yeah, I don't like that. I do not like that. Darren says, personally, I hate movies that are more than 24 frames per second. Makes them look like soap operas. It depends, Darren. I'll agree with you in some instances. Like, if you watch The Hobbit at 48 frames per second in 2D, it's a weird thing. But in 3D, that's how 3D is meant to be done. The only 3D film I ever thought was worth a crap was 3D Freddy's Dead. Old school red and blue would make things pop out of your head beautifully. I remember how stupid that was, that they actually tell you in the film when to put on the 3D glasses because it was a prop they were using in the dream. I remember seeing that in theaters. They had to make a special effort to slow down the pans for 3D movies to reduce that stutter. Yeah, but the problem is that, because the way that 3D, the 3D tech works, if you're on a, assuming you're not watching the old red blue, is that you're really only getting 12 frames per second for each eye, because every other frame is going to each eye, basically. And so at 48, it makes it feel like a full 24, so you get a little more fluid motion. And let's see. Dear Edtricker, how would you write a TNG Quantum Leap crossover? Oh, that's simple. You have him jump into Picard right in the middle of a big crisis. That's what I would do. Stanley says basic income, yeah, and I know that there are people in Washington that want a basic income, but generally they're kind of the crazies out there, like Bernie Sanders and stuff, as opposed to the mainstream. But yeah, that is what some people want. But if you do a basic income like that, they're gonna have to raise the tax rate to like 95% in order to make it work. And basically it just means that, hey, if you work, you get a little bit more than average. And they would also have to restructure taxes from non-income. So like if you are an investor, they would have to change the way that's structured so that they would have to get a bunch of that money. I like watching 3D movies on my VR headset. VR headset, I don't have one that I actually do have one over there somewhere, but I never use the stupid thing. I never got into VR stuff. Hey, Anager, do you think movies, TV, and streaming services are getting more and more adult, leaving less for kids to watch? Sometimes yes. Sometimes no. It kind of depends. It's funny to say that, but it's true. Where I think that unfortunately some streaming services, I'm not going to name names, Netflix, will put on what they consider edgy programming that becomes almost borderline pornography, right? And they're doing this to entice more viewers. And what does that do? It means that now mom and dad have to worry about the kid. It's not just HBO and Cinemax After Dark. Now it's like if you have Hulu or Netflix or any of these streaming services, and a lot of them don't let you filter out adult content. So they just see, oh, look, there's the LGBTQ section. I'm sure there's some good quality family entertainment there, And unfortunately, and that stuff, the funny thing is that people in that community try to say, oh, it's not about our sexuality, and yet every movie is about sex. Whatever. Let's see. Nobody will work with basic income. Oh, people will work, but here's the funny thing about that, Uncle Ramus, is that if everybody basically said, well, screw it, I'm not going to work because I got my basic income, then what happens? Guess what? Everybody, in order to get your basic income, you'll have to either work or do work for the government, and they'll just make you do the work that nobody else wants to do in order to get your basic income. So, yeah. Let's see. And my head hurts after 2 hours of wearing a ski mask. Okay. Well, then don't wear a ski mask for 2 hours. Sci-Fi Nation says, as much as UBI sounds like a good idea, just watch The Expanse. Yeah. Well, actually, the funny thing is about that sci-fi is that The Expanse shows it in a world where it works. I mean, as much as it's not something to be desired, that's like best case scenario. Darren says Sci-Fi Nation is a brand of soup. Sci-Fi Nation says I am not. Alex says, what is your scary moment from Trek? Well, honestly, I don't think it's been released yet, but it's coming up in one of my short videos here. Let me take a quick look and see the release schedule for it. And because I think the scariest moment of Trek is one of those it's a very definitive moment, and I know I mentioned it. No, it's coming out on February 12th in the Journey Through Trek stuff, and it is from the Return of the Archons. And in that episode, that's the one with Landru, the computer that controls a society. And when Landru is on to what's going on, he does what they refer to as summoning the body in order to deal with Kirk and his crew. And everybody on the street just suddenly stops, looks at them, reaches down, picks up whatever's nearby, a piece of wood, a rock, whatever they got, and they just start walking towards them. And it's like, oh, crap. That was the scariest moment in Trek to me. Darren says, oh, wait, that's Progresso. Yes. So Sci-Fi Nation is officially a Progresso. That's his political party. Mr. Captain says, what a slow night. Nothing big going on. What a slow... Well, Mr. Captain, that could be a good thing, I guess. Alex says, dear Andrew, what's your favorite Robot Chicken Star Trek sketch? Probably the one where the turbolift door closes on William Shatner's dick. That's. Darren says, I got up to 13 degrees freedom units here in Wisconsin today. Looks like we got winter this year after all. Well, good for you. It's like 39 degrees here was the high. And let's see. Advice on how to be more productive. That's tough. Honestly, more productive doing what? I mean, what is your goal? 1337F337. And by the way, what a great username, 1337F337, because yeah, that just rolls off the tongue, 1337F337. But no, more productive in what? I need a little more context. Scariest moment in Star Trek was who are in that feather outfit thing in Star Trek 5. That's just wrong. Just get out there and hustle, bud. Keep it real. Keep it legal. Hustle for that dollar. Well, yes and no. The problem is that, it's not it's not the old days where that was something that you could do. Depending on your physical condition, depending on where you live, what opportunities are there. I mean, it sounds good to just go out there, hustle, work hard, all that. But if you live in Podunk, Wisconsin, there may not be much opportunity. Scariest thing is when you cross the border into Kuroga. Well, that's the scariest thing of anything. Yes, my favorite Robot Chicken skit was Spock's crib. I remember that. Yeah, scariest Star Trek moment for me is still when Charlie makes the woman's mouth disappear. That was pretty creepy, and it wasn't just her mouth; it was her whole face. She looked like a character from DC Comics called The Question. She had no face. That was very creepy. Which is better, the 2005 Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy movie or the 1981 miniseries? I consider both mixed bags with merit. I would kind of go with what you just said, Alex. I think that they're both, they have their fun points, they have their drawbacks. The books are clearly superior to either. Sci-Fi Nation says 1337 used to be slang for elite, as in elite, back in the wilderness days of the intrawebs. I know, but I gotta say 1337F337 because that's the username. So just to be a dick. Jay-Z, that's a super blabber post. Trust says Avatar also aggressively pushed the beauty and simplicity of nature, but turns out in the real world, nature can get pretty ugly. Well, yeah. I mentioned this last week, but, me and Mrs. Antricker, we're on a fast that we do every year, and among other things, we don't watch secular media. The only exception to that is what I have to watch for, producing videos on the channel, although all the Star Trek videos are already done, so I'm not having to watch Star Trek every day because those videos are done all the way through the end of the fast. But the funny thing is, so one of the things we watch is we watch a lot of religious programming, although you kind of run out of good religious movies to watch after a while. I mean, the Ten Commandments is great, but, Ben-Hur is great, but you can't, you run out of stuff real fast. But we also watch documentaries, like nature documentaries and stuff like that. And yeah, nature is vicious. It's not all happy and people singing and dancing. It's it's like animals getting torn to pieces while they're still alive by other animals. Alan Rickman as Marvin was spot on. I loved Alan Rickman as Marvin. Scariest thing in Trek is when the Vulcans said Burnham defined Spock's career. Don't even start with that. Avatar is hardcore Fern Gully. Yeah, it's another thing. It's it's derivative of a lot of things. Paladin says, you game it all. I do, not a lot. I wouldn't call myself a hardcore gamer or anything, but I play Path of Exile pretty regularly because that's a game that I can kind of play for a minute here and there in between calls and stuff at work. And if you haven't played Path of Exile, it's a Diablo-style dungeon crawler, and it's completely free. You can download it off Steam. You can download it direct off their website. It is available for PC, Mac, PlayStation. But I don't think it's cross-platform compatible, but I do have a guild in it, which you can join if you ever want to. When you see me live streaming, send me your character's name and I'll invite you. But it's a lot of fun if you like dungeon crawlers. If you don't care for dungeon crawlers, then you would hate it. I also, thanks to Darren Wagner, play a little bit of Elder Scrolls Online. I don't play it as much as Path of Exile because it's a good game. It's a very high quality game, but it's not my style, not my jam, if you will. But it's and I do play it a little bit, and I think that I can understand why Darren likes it so much. But I prefer the faster paced type of dungeon crawler formula over the kind of Warcraftian look or feel of Elder Scrolls Online. Let's see. Darren says, scariest moment in TNG. At any moment that features a close-up of Dr. Crusher. That makeup from the 80s would make the Joker cringe. That's horrible. Animals with venom. Yes, indeed. Daniel's Hot Topics in the house. Hello, Andy Trekker. What's up? Hey, Daniel. Hope you're doing okay. Darren says, scariest thing in Trek was when the ghost that Crusher had sex with then possesses the body of her dead aunt. Yeah, that was a weird episode. Avatar would have been 200% better if Tim Curry played the evil Colonel guy. I can't remember the guy that played the evil Colonel, but I liked him. He was actually, I think, the best part of the movie as far as just, I mean, he felt real. The de-evolution episode in TNG and Barkley jumping out as a spider was pretty freaky. Darren says, not your jam. What is boysenberry? Jerk. Alex says, Dukat possessed by Paw Race, scariest image in Deep Space Nine, those red eyes. I don't know, maybe because it's the simplicity of the thing from the Return of the Archons. You don't need visual effects. You don't need, prosthetic makeup. You don't need CGI. All you need is to coordinate a bunch of people walking down the street to stop at the exact same time, and it makes you feel disturbed. And I think it's because it's just a very, a very mundane activity, just people walking up and down the street. And you could imagine, think about this, like wherever town you live in, you're walking in the downtown area of your town, and it's busy afternoon, right? People are on their lunch hours or whatever, people walking up and down the street. And then all of a sudden, at the same time, everybody stops in their tracks and turns and looks at you. Think about that for a second. Let's see. Sci-Fi Nation says, thanks for a great stream, bud. Even if you are a turd, Stanny, going to hang out with TWTG content. I have no idea what TWTG is, but have fun with that. So, yeah. Let's see. I didn't like the HGTTG movie, the radio play. Oh, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I was like, what? The radio play was fantastic. TV show was also fun. I actually liked the movie. I didn't think it was great, but I thought it was fun. Donnie's in the house, says, hope everyone's well. Thank you, Donnie. I hope you're doing well as well. By the way, I don't know for sure I know that Matthew, Life with Matthew's got something going on where he may not be able to host the virtual pub tomorrow night. If for some reason he is not hosting the virtual pub tonight, I will host it in his stead because we got to have the virtual pub every Monday. Sci-Fi says grapes, not the R word. Oh, you're talking about what Odd Librarian put out. Okay, gotcha. Thank you. Nothing tops Lord dancing topless for disturbing images. That is definitely a very disturbing image. I will get you that. Not get you that, give you that. Nothing tops, or scariest thing in Trek is when Troy went all vampire and wore see-through stuff. That one episode where she was aging. I don't even remember that. Man, that's... See, it's funny because when I get to my journey through Trek, when I get to TNG, there's a lot of episodes that I barely remember. Because there's the really good ones, like Chain of Command, Best of Both Worlds, The Inner Light, that I still, just for fun, I'll rewatch them. But most of the stuff in between, I don't rewatch very often. And so the last time, probably half the episodes of TNG I probably haven't seen since it originally aired. So... I'm really looking forward to when I get to that point. The original series, I pretty much have almost every episode memorized, and and as far as the animated series, I've seen them all many, many times, so I know every story. But when I get to TNG, it's going to take a little more effort for me to do these videos because I'm going to have to actually pay attention to the episodes because I haven't watched them in so long. Excuse me. Sorry, a little congestion there. And let's see. And where was I? Super Blabberpuss says Star Trek has the laziest, cheapest aliens. Every time they need an alien, they just slap on latex. One of the reasons I stopped watching Trek during DS9. Well, I'll say this. They were, it kind of got to, like, how many different variants of forehead bumps can you do? I get it. we're talking about from the mid 80s to the, right around the year 2000. There's not, we didn't have the ability to really do good, intricate aliens at that point. CG type aliens was still, think about it. The Gorn from Enterprise, even by today's standards, is kind of laughable. And at the time was, that was a massive undertaking. And so it is very difficult to do good aliens for TV budgets at that time frame. Now it's getting easier. So, but we'll see what happens moving forward. I hope that we start getting good Trek again soon. I'm really praying and hoping that Strange New Worlds is good. We'll see. The guy who played the evil Colonel Miles Quitrid, played by Stephen Lang in Avatar, was considered to play J. Jonah Jameson in Amazing Spider-Man 3. I could see him playing J. Jonah Jameson. Stephen Lang. Thank you. I couldn't remember his name, but yeah, Stephen Lang. I could definitely see him playing J. Jonah. Hate to say, but TNG didn't get good till Roddenberry was off the show. You know what? It's just a fact. Unfortunately, Gene Roddenberry's contribution to Trek is very much overrated. But I don't want to spit on his grave. I'm just saying that Star Trek was made great by a lot of people, and Gene was just one of those people. Thomas says, son of a bitch, I didn't know you were on. You know there's a game on, even though Tampa's far too ahead to lose. No, you know what? I haven't been watching the Super Sports Ball because I know, Thomas, that, it's kind of your thing, but I'm not into football. And it's okay, man. Enjoy the game, truly. I'm going to be wrapping up in a minute anyway, so enjoy the game. Don't worry, we'll catch up. We're going to do the virtual pub tomorrow. I'm definitely going to do a stream this week on Tuesday because I missed the last couple of Tuesdays, and I feel bad about that because I just haven't been feeling well. And then Thursday we're going to do Sharknado 5, which I've not seen, so that'll be interesting. And yeah. Darren says, it sort of reminds me how every planet in classic Doctor Who was a rock quarry and half the planets in Star Wars are deserts. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's kind of a thing. They gotta, you gotta work with the budget you got. The scariest thing in Star Trek Enterprise use of the Voyages still gives me nightmares. Well, at least, Trustin, I will say this. As much as I did not like These Are the Voyages, I did like the joke they turned it into in the final episode of Season 1 of Lower Decks. Professor Brainy Specs says Season 6, Episode 5, Schisms was scary. I remember the title, but I don't remember the details of that one. Sorry, I know you posted it earlier, and I somehow missed it, or I didn't read it, and then I realized I didn't read it, and yeah, thank you. Super Blarpo says, actually, even current JJ Trek has the crappy aliens. Star Wars has never had that issue. Well, first of all, the JJ Trek aliens are based on the aliens from the show. That's why. Why? If you're going to have, a Klingon, you're going to have basically what looks like a human with bumps on their head, right? And so that's just what they're at that point. Klingons are kind of iconic, so you're not going to radically change them. And same with many of the other aliens in Trek. But the reason Star Wars never had that problem is you also have to keep in mind that Star Wars did not start out as a television series. There is a world. Now, today it's a different world than it was back in the 70s. But if you look at the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, right? Television was really low quality in comparison to film. That's why even a show that was modest visual effects by today's standards, like say The Incredible Hulk or The $6 Million Man, you wouldn't have the Hulk in the entire episode. It would be 99% Bruce Banner, David Banner, and then 1 to 3% Hulk, because that's what the budget would allow. And that's why, like, whenever the Hulk changed, you saw those same shots of his shirt ripping and his shoes exploding and all that. You just don't have the money to do that over and over and over in different ways. And that's why in the original Trek and even TNG, they recycled shots from episode to episode a lot. And they had to do that because those are expensive shows to put together. Battlestar Galactica was probably the first real attempt at making a truly cinematic television show that was like at the caliber you would expect to see in film. And like if you look at the Battlestar Galactica 2-hour movie from 78 and compare that to Star Wars from 77, the visual effects are on par with each other. That's really impressive work. However, if you then watch the series, you'll start to notice that every single battle between the Colonials and the Cylons is the same shots, just arranged a little differently. Because they could not afford to keep producing more shots. And it was the reason it got canceled after one season was not because it was a flop. It was an absolute skyrocketing success of a TV show that they couldn't afford. So that's, so it's a very different world. Today, with the advent of modern streaming services, these companies, like if you look at WandaVision's got a $200 million budget, right? That is unheard of for television. I'm not even adjusted for inflation and everything. That was some really good stuff. And no, Professor Brady Specs, the 2-hour movie, the original Battlestar Galactica, was not made for theaters. It was released in theaters because they decided, wow, this is really good. We got to put it in theaters. But it was a made for television. That was originally produced for the series. And then they released it in theaters because they realized that it was even better than they thought it was going to be. Darren says, first thing I saw Stephen Langan was Tombstone. He played Ike Clanton. I have not seen Tombstone. Dear Antracker, have you seen The Rocketeer yet? No, sir. And Tom said, I never got a notification. Yeah, a lot of people didn't. YouTube hates me. To punish Matthew, you should watch Harry Potter one night and don't tell him. You know what? You just gave me a horrible idea. I bet. Hopefully Matthew's not listening right now. I put trailers ahead of the last Sharknado film to kind of give him a hint of movies we'll be watching in the future. So I'll put a trailer for Harry Potter. These Are the Voyages would be good as a middle of the season episode. Well, I didn't like it at all as a concept because I think that it cheapened the show. Daniel says, I talked to my brain-dead contrarian Trekkie friends who worship TNG, Star Trek the Motion Picture, and Roddenberry, and they said TNG and Star Trek the Motion Picture is what people want, what they want. Well, I don't know anybody that... I mean, first of all, TNG depends, because the first 2 seasons of TNG... Well, the first season in particular was really bad. The second season was better, but still had a long way to go. After season 3, the show got pretty darn good. And so for TNG, it's kind of hit and miss depending on where you are. But as far as Star Trek the Motion Picture, I don't know anybody that says that Star Trek the Motion Picture was a great film. I know people that enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I saw it in theaters multiple times, but I enjoyed it for 2 reasons. A, seeing the characters again for the first time since the 70s, or since the original series, and B, ship porn. Awesome ship porn. Alex says Marina Sirtis as a vampire doesn't sound horrifying to me. Have you seen her lately? I mean, just saying. Professor Brainstrike says, Editor is one of those things. It was one where beings come in through the subspace pocket and abduct members of the crew with... Oh, yes, I do. That was a creepy one. Daniel says, they say, like, when you adjust for inflation, Star Trek the Motion Picture made the most money, and that is what people want. A peaceful, cerebral story. I beg to differ. Look at how much money Star Wars makes. Look how much money Marvel and the MCU make. Actually, Star Trek the Motion Picture, I don't know who's telling you that as far as adjusted for inflation, that it made the most money. That is not true. Adjusted for inflation, Star Trek 2009 actually, I believe, is the one that made the most money. But that's irrelevant. I think that Star Trek 2, I think, is the best of the films. That's my personal favorite. But, I don't know, Daniel, I don't know anybody who's fighting for more movies like Star Trek the Motion Picture. That is, slow-paced, methodical sci-fi is never going to be in theaters again, I don't think. Anyway, Super Blarpo says the point they had the point they have had the capabilities to show in other species, but they lack imagination. That's what DeForest Kelly said about the animated series: lack of imagination. What do you mean? The animated series had some very interesting aliens. Heck, they had a 3-armed, 3-legged navigator. Is the Voyager's warp core recycled from one of the Trek films? Actually, I don't think so. I think the design is similar, though, because the way they light the warp core is the same way they lit it in Star Trek the Motion Picture and Star Trek 2. Unfortunately, in Star Trek 6, they redressed the TNG warp core, and I don't like that look at all, where it's like the obvious pulsating lights going down, as opposed to in the first 2 films, it looks like there's some kind of plasma in there that's moving around organically. And so I thought that the later, like the TNG warp cores, I thought were horrible. The Voyager had the best warp core of any of the Star Trek shows, in my opinion. The 2-hour movie, the original Battlestar Galactica, was made for the theater. No, it was not. I'm going to fight you on that one, Professor Brady Specs. Also, keep in mind, bad special effects were before Star Wars. ILM was set the standard, and it was ILM who did most of the shots for most movies that were good. Well, ILM did revolutionize the visual effects industry, but honestly, you want to see some seriously good special effects, you go back to 1968. 2001: A Space Odyssey, those visual effects are better than Star Wars. But they were also going for true realism in that. Dear Andrew, wasn't there a robot dog thing in Battlestar Galactica? Yes, it was named Muppet. Also, I think the Voyager panel ends up. Let's see. I think the Voyager panel ends up as a corridor panel in TNG. The Voyager, I'm not sure what you mean. Even the Trek movies recycled a lot. The uniforms were right out of the main DS9 crew for generations. Of course, Bird of Prey explosion from 6 added to generation. Oh, don't even talk to me about that stupid Bird of Prey explosion. That was lame. Look how much money Star Wars makes. Looks how much money Marvel. I already read that. Gates McFadden as Poison Ivy in a Tim Burton film. No. Do YouTube search for Spock's dick. Someone bleeped out all the lines where someone says brain in Spock's brain. Hilarity ensues. I saw you sent that to me. I will definitely check that out because that sounds hilarious. And you hate First Contact. Yeah, you're right about Battlestar Pilot. And it's all right. I mean, because it's very cinematic. I mean, it works as a film. And I know they did make a couple of minor changes for the theatrical release. Like Baltar was killed in the theatrical release, and in the series he was not. But yeah, it definitely, it was good. Did you see I assume you mean MSNBC suggested drone striking anyone in the protest lockdowns? I don't see a backlash. Cool times. I have not heard that. And that's lame if they did. I mean, what? I hope that whoever said that was saying it tongue-in-cheek. That doesn't even make sense. You going to seriously say somebody protesting something should be shot? Because does that mean that you're going to start saying drone strikes against Black Lives Matter? Or anybody that protests? Because you don't shoot people for protesting. You shoot them for rioting. But no, we won't do that. I like the Hathaway's warp core. That's my favorite. I'm trying to remember what it looked like now. I mean, I remember the episode, but I'm trying to remember what the warp core looked like fired up. Let's see, 31-9 Tampa. Wow, that is a blowout. And Cartoon Man says V'ger. Oh, so it's VGER, not VYGER. That's why it threw me off. It's like Viger. Vidra from the motion picture. I don't remember that being in TNG, but I'll take your word for it. Never liked how DS9 reused battle footage during the war. Well, you know, a lot of shows did that. They just, you know, DS9 costs a lot to produce. And so they had a bigger cast than most of the other shows. They had bigger sets than the other shows. And of course, during the Dominion War, it was the first time we had epic battles in Trek. So, yeah. And let's see, a lot of TV pilots were released in theaters back in the 70s. Buck Rogers, true. Hulk, I didn't know about, was a big movie in Europe. I did not know that one. But I did remember, I do remember when Buck Rogers came out in theaters. And there were rumors that there was like some brief nudity, but I never saw it. Yeah, you were right about I already read that. Yeah, you posted it twice. You're confusing me, Professor Brainy Specs. The Lorca actor said anti-maskers should be hung in the streets. Well, you know what? First of all, I'll say this, Thomas. Anything an actor says, I don't care, because they're Batwoman crazy, every one of them. That's why I don't pay attention to, you know, the reason I was able to enjoy Captain Marvel to a limited extent, granted it was not a great movie, but it was not a horrifically bad movie. The reason I was able to enjoy the film is because I do not give a crap about what Brie Larson has to say about anything. I don't give a crap about what George Clooney has to say about anything. I don't give a crap about what pretty much any actor has to say about anything. And so they can go run their mouth about how horrible people are and how this person should be shot or this person should be hung. You know what? They are Batwoman crazy, every one of them. And you pretty much have to be a Batwoman crazy narcissist to be a successful actor. So that's just a fact. And so the fact that, you know what, I would still cast him back as Lorca if I could, because I thought he was great as Lorca. I do not care what his political opinions are, because I expect them to be crazy. What's your favorite Q episode of Voyager and why? Did not care for Q and Voyager at all. Season 1, episode 16, Corridor. Oh, you're saying there's an episode called Corridor. I see. I don't even remember that episode at all. I saw the moderator was asking, why don't we treat domestic terrorists like we do ISIS and such and drone strike them? Well, because, you know, we have constitutional protections. You can't drone strike someone because you disagree with them. My goodness. Professor Brady says, I didn't hear you read it the first time. No biggie. Yes, 31.9 Bucks beating Chiefs. Age and wisdom will always defeat youth and overconfidence. Hey, Piano Dean, I did not see you there. Hope you are well. Well, I haven't been watching the game because I've been working up until just before I started this live stream. And now I'm going to wrap it up. Why are they making a race? Well, or why are they making a race? Why are they making Discovery? Quantum. Anyway, guys, so I'm going to wrap it up there. I want to say thank you for hanging out with me. But I do truly appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day. And I know that even though 2021 has gotten off to a little bit of a rough start, I still am confident that 2021 is going to be a better year than 2020. I hope. And what's my favorite Lord of the Rings battle sequence? Oh, easy Minas Tirith. I love the Battle of Minas Tirith. That is just so epic, doesn't even begin to describe it. And I agree with you, Darren. I didn't like that the Mandalorians that took off their helmets, Katie Sackhoff and her crew. I get it that they did that in the series, and at least they wrote in a reason for it. But yeah, I would have preferred that they kept their helmets on. But yeah. Anyway, guys, thank you all for hanging out with me. And, you know, I don't have any closing music, so sorry. Do 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 do, 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 do.